Yes, everyone, welcome to the next video. Disadvantages of the Cape-Out method. First, they said what this means, right? Or what it means. Clients who receive the service are likely to trust. Clients who receive the service are likely to trust that the entire process is secure or control if part of the services are Cape-Out. Remember, that's what I was saying. You as a client, when you are performing your due diligence, you want to bring this vendor. What are those questions are you going to ask? They might wonder, if you don't control this part, how can I even trust you in the first place? How can I even tell, my data remains safe or they are secure? Remember, as I said earlier, when you are outsourcing, you do not tell your customers that you are accessing their data, and your most valuable asset are your customer trust, right? So you are doing that, you are not telling them, okay, the emitted third-party vendor, they've issued their software report, but it's a Cape-Out method, which they also, outsource or have sub-service organization. And that part you don't even know. What if a sub-service organization is the one that will house your data? Maybe it's like Amazon or AWS, an AWS cloud or a cloud service. Not necessarily AWS, can be Google Cloud or Azure, right? So they will have your data, but you don't have information as to how that data will be housed. Tell me, you don't have those control not be tested. Are you really just going to go with them because it's a brand name? That's why I say third party is very, very interesting. Using the Cape-Out method may make the service organization seem less reliable because it isn't able to vouch for everything, including the sub-service organization's controls, right? Also have potential gaps in security compliance. Since a service organization is not responsible for the sub-service organization's controls, there may be security risks or compliance gaps that are not visible to the client. If the sub-service organization isn't following the required standard or has proof or has poor security practices, it could lead to vulnerabilities in the service provided, and the client would even know because the sub-service controls were excluded from the report. And that makes sense, right? So talk of lack of transparency. The Cape-Out method also means that clients don't get full picture of the entire process or service provided because parts of the service are excluded from the report, and we've actually talked on that already. This can definitely cause confusion and affect a client's decision to continue using the service if they don't feel they have enough information about the entire service delivery process. And remember, that's why I say that your role is a big role. You being between your vendors and your organization, you'll be able to decide to determine if you want to go with that vendor or not. Think of, we are talking of thousands of dollars here involved. Money. Okay. You, after performing your due diligence, you tell your, because of A, B, and Z, unfortunately, we cannot go with you because of this. A organization cannot do anything, they'll have to follow you, right? If you have good, tangible reason why you feel like, going with this vendor exposes or increases your potential risks. So we don't feel comfortable going with that vendor. And of course, you're going to look for substitute. And that's why I said that it's always advisable not just to rush over trainings. Even when you are working, you need to know what you are doing, right? God forbid that you onboarded a vendor and that vendor got hacked, maybe due to your own, the fact that you really did not like perform a good thorough job, and vendor get hacked. And when they're investigating, maybe you didn't even, analyze things properly. I don't know how you're going to feel, right? But again, breaches those occur at times. So again, but these are some of the things that we want to pay attention to, right? What of limited controls over the service organization? The service organization might not have the necessary oversight of controls over the sub-service organization operations, right? So sub-service organization might operate independently or under different set of guidance or guidelines, which make it difficult to include their control in your report, right? But why would an organization want to go in for a carve-out method? First, if the company outsources a specific task, like customer report or data backup to a third-party vendor that operate autonomously, the service organization might not have sufficient controls or visibility over that vendor's operations, and that's why they will choose the carve-out method. So in that case, the service organization can include a sub-service organization control, can include the sub-service organization control because it lacks authority over how the sub-service handles its operations. Instead, they keep out a portion of the service from their report to ensure that they are not held accountable for something they cannot control, right? But you are not held accountable for something you cannot control. But guess what? You are taking my data, you are passing it to another person that is eventually taking, backing up the data. How would I know that data are eventually being backed up? Okay. Yeah, they will not be held responsible, but guess what? What happened to me? Because remember, they already have their SLA with this company. But now you are having your own SLA with your service organization company, right? And that's why you got to perform due diligence. Very, very important. Okay. So service organization is not fully integrated into the service. Sometimes the sub-service organization might not be fully integrated into the service being offered by the service organization. Their role might be more peripheral, and the service organization may want to exclude them from a direct responsibility, right? Say a company that provides managed IT services may outsource a small part of the IT work, like hardware maintenance, to a third-party vendor. The company might not see this as part of the critical service they provide and may not want to include the vendor's controls in their report, right? Okay, the service organization may want to focus on its own core controls and not be responsible for the security or compliance of a vendor that is not only tangentially involved in the service, right? We might also have lack of sufficient documentation or transparency from sub-service organization. So if a sub-service organization cannot provide sufficient documentation about its own controls or security practices, the service organization may not be able to assess or include the sub-service controls in its report as well, right? A service organization might rely on a vendor for certain specialized services, but might not be able to access detailed information about that vendor's controls, audit results, as well as compliance processes. In such a case, the service organization might decide that it's better to exclude the sub-service organization from its SOC report rather than risk providing incomplete or inaccurate information to their clients, right? But what of conceptual or legal reasons? There are times that you have legal limitations or contextual limitations that prevent service organization from including the sub-service organization's control in the report. For example, a sub-service organization may have its own separate compliance reporting and might not allow its controls to be included in another company's report. So that is a tangible reason. For example, a service organization might be working with a cloud service provider that has its own compliance certification. The cloud provider may not allow its control to be integrated into the service organization report due to conceptual agreement or confidentiality clauses. It's very, very important, especially when it comes to confidentiality aspect. Okay. In this situation, the service organization may have no choice but to keep out the sub-service control because of the restriction from the sub-service organization or the terms of their agreement. But simplifying the SOC 2 report, what does it mean? In some cases, an organization might choose to keep out method just to simplify the SOC 2 report. Including the sub-service organization control might make the report more complex and even more may require more resources or to access, right? So, for example, if the service organization has multiple sub-service organizations providing different services, including all of their control in the report could be time-consuming or require significant resources. They may choose a keep-out method to make their report more manageable, right? By giving out the sub-service organization, the service organization can streamline the report and focus only on the parts of the service they can fully have access as well as they can control, right? But if stuff like that happens, again, based on their SLA, I don't care as to what they do, but you perform your due diligence. If they have multiple sub-service organization, you want to concentrate with the particular sub-service organization or organizations that will be collecting, housing, or processing your data. That's your focal point. And then determine, the relevant question, necessary documents that you can request from them. Okay. Also, there's also the problem of cost consideration. Evaluating and including the sub-service organization controls can sometimes be expensive as well as resource intensive, right? So if the cost of including the sub-service organization controls is prohibitive, the service organization may opt for the Carve-Out method. But why choose that? The service organization might decide to reduce costs by excluding the sub-service organization from their SOC 2 report, especially if they believe the sub-service role is minimal or doesn't represent significant risks. So with that, let's try and go through some example where we're just going to read between UST and maybe a service organization to better understand these terminologies better. So I hope this video helps. With that, I'll see you guys in the next video. I'll see you all. Bye.